Chapter 5 looks at inserting special features and references within our document. And actually the title doesn't really describe everything that's going on in Chapter 5. We're going to see a lot of different features within Chapter 5, and you'll see that as we go through the objectives that are on page 171. So let's take a look at those. If you'll notice, we'll be doing some sorting. We'll sort text in paragraphs, columns, and tables. We'll also learn to sort records within a data source. And then in addition to looking at the data source records, not only will we be sorting those, but we'll also select specific records within that data source and merge those. And basically what that is a filter, or you're looking for certain records that meet a given criteria. Then we'll also look at how we can insert non-breaking spaces. We'll look at the find and replace feature, and this time we've seen the find and replace feature in previous chapters, but in this chapter we'll look at finding and replacing special characters. We'll also learn to create and use a specialized template. Then we'll look at creating footnotes and endnotes. We'll also learn to insert and modify sources and citations. And finally, we'll look at inserting, modifying, and formatting bibliographies. So a variety of features that we're going to see in Chapter 5. And if you'll notice on pages 172 through 174, the model answers are given to us there for each of the projects in Chapter 5. And on page 175, we're going to begin Project 1 by looking at a document that I have open called Sorting. And I've already renamed that like they requested in Project 1, but we're going to look at this document. It contains information on company employees in the forms of paragraphs, columns, and then tables. And in each of these different scenarios, we're going to look at how we can sort those. And we'll also, in addition to that, within this area, there's two parts to it. We'll learn to insert non-breaking spaces and also look at some of the keyboard shortcuts. When you sort paragraphs of text, like we have at the beginning here, you can do that alphanumerically, you can do it numerically, or you can do it by date. And so just keep those in mind, that there are a variety of ways that you can sort. With an alphanumeric sort, punctuation marks or special symbols are sorted first, and then those are followed by numbers and then text. And then if you have paragraphs that you're sorting that are either alphanumeric or numeric, then the dates are treated as regular text. It also states on page 175 in paragraph 2, the last sentence says that during a paragraph sort, any blank lines in a document are automatically moved to the beginning of the document. So just kind of be aware of that. Make a mental note of that. When you sort text in columns, the columns obviously are set up with tabs. So in order to sort those, you can't just space between your columns. You have to have tab settings in order for your text to be sorted correctly. And if you happen to use your left margin as a placeholder for your text, and then you set a first tab as your second column of information, when you sort, the left margin will be field 1, and then your first tab setting will be field 2, and so on. So kind of keep a mental note of that as well. Also, with sorting text, you can sort on more than one field, whether that be within a paragraph like we see here, or even in columns, or columns separated by tabs, or columns within a table. You can have multi-level sorts, and we're going to take a look at that as well. So as I mentioned previously, I've already opened the document called Sorting and renamed it as Word Level 2 Chapter 5 Project 1 as they've requested on page 176 in Project 1A. And the first thing that we're going to look at, we're going to sort this paragraph of information by the individual's first name. And the first step in doing this is you do need to select your text that you're going to sort. And then on the Home tab, in the paragraph group, we're going to click on the Sort button. It has an A to Z on it. And you'll notice it has word 3 as the default. We want it to be word 1 because we want the first word in that to be sorted. And we do want it in ascending order. Type of text is obviously text, it's not number or a date. We don't have a header row in this particular body of text, and so at this point we can just click OK, and that puts all the information in alphabetical order according to the first name or the first word. You can also sort by the second word, and in this case that's the last name, by going through the same steps. You'd want to select it, as we already have, and then you'll go into the sort dialog box. This time you want to choose word 2. It's still text, and we still want it in ascending order. And click OK. And now each one of these are in alphabetical order according to their last name or the second word. Okay. Moving down a little bit, let's say that we want to sort the text in these columns by employee, which would be the first column here. So you can do this a couple of ways. Let's select all of the text in our columns, and again we'll go back to the sort dialog box. We do want to sort it by employee. It is text. We want ascending order. There is a header row, so we want to leave that. Make sure that we don't want this first row to be included in the sort, so that's why you specify it as a header row. And then we'll click OK. And now they're in order according to the employee name. Okay. You can also sort by the third column, which is the extension, by doing the same thing. You can go back to the sort dialog box. This time, rather than the employee field, we'll want the extension field. It is a number, so we can leave it as is. You could do ascending or descending here. And again, we have a header row, and then you just click OK. And that puts it in ascending order according to the extension number. Now you'll also notice the departments. There's multiple departments. There's multiple individuals in each of the departments, because you can see that it's duplicated here. But let's say that we want to alphabetize these numbers by department, and then if there's more than one individual within these departments, which there are, we want those in alphabetical order. So let's do a multi-level sort here. We're going to have multiple fields that we're sorting upon. So I'm going to go back to the sort dialog box. This time the first field that we want to sort by is by department. We want it in ascending order. And then if there's more than one individual within that department, which there is, we want to look to the employee field and put that in ascending order. Again, we have a header row, and click OK. So now the departments are in alphabetical order, but since there's duplicate departments, then it looks to the employee name and puts those in alphabetical order. So that's sorting by multiple fields. Okay. And then further down, you'll see the table. We can also sort text in this table by columns. If you wanted to sort by the first column, let's do it by sales first half. Now let's do it by salesperson. The only difference between the tables and columns or paragraph text is that you don't have to select it. Just as long as you're inside the table, that works. And then when you go back into the sort dialog box, let's say that we want to sort by salesperson, and we want them in ascending order. We don't want to sort it by additional fields, so I'm going to change that to none. We do still have a header row, so we're going to leave that as is. Those header rows, salesperson, sales first half, sales second half, those are all header rows. So I'll click OK. Now they're in alphabetical order according to the salesperson. Okay. You can also sort, let's say we want to sort by the last column, sales second half, and we want to put those in descending order. So again, as long as you're somewhere in the table, you can go back to the sort dialog box and you can choose sales second half. That switches the number type, the type to number, sorry, and then descending. And then we can click OK. So now all the information is in descending order according to sales second half.